Hello, everyone. My name is Stanley St. Rose, and today we're going to be talking about The Origin of Others by Toni Morrison. Now, before I go into summary analysis of this work, please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and/or comment so that the channel can continue to grow. All right, we have a lot to talk about, a lot to get through today. The idea of others. All right. This is what Toni Morrison is talking about here. You know, I like to keep things nice and simple and really get to the meat and potatoes of things on this channel. And what Toni Morrison is talking about here within this work is that, well, in America, we have this idea of others, the origin of others. And you do see it with skin color, with the idea of others, people group themselves into different groups. And the United States, some people say it's a melting pot. I don't agree with that notion. It's definitely a salad. I'd like to see the United States as a salad. And why I say that is because you have different groups of people. You have the Mexican um, group, Dominican, Chinese, little China, little Haiti. Um, you have little Koreas. If you really look into it, if you really did the research on American culture or how America is, there's definitely several groups: Russian, Chinese, Indian, Pakistani. There's groups, Jewish. I mean, there's groups of all types of people that group themselves within America. It's not just white and black. It's not African Americans versus white people. It's all types of groups. People group themselves into different groups in America. And people associate themselves with their skin color, culture, language, religion. People see themselves as, oh, that's not me. Those are the others. And that is an idea that's an ideology that's very real within the United States. It's like those are the others. I'm not part of that group. That's not my group. Even with Black and African Americans, Black people who come from Africa, the Caribbean, they usually come from different countries, and they see themselves as being a part of this country or that culture, and they see African Americans as something outside of that, right? I have seen Black people from Africa and the Caribbean and other countries. They'll be like, well, African Americans do this. Well, we do this because Black people who come from other countries, they don't identify themselves with African Americans because their ancestors were not from here. They may not speak like English would be their second language, while African Americans at this point English is their first language. African Americans are Americans by every sense of the word because they're so American that they don't even know what countries they originally came from. So America is their country. Like, I mean, yeah, there's no other way of looking at it. Um, yeah, I mean, society calls them African American, but they're just American because that's it. English is not a second language for them. It is their language. But I mean, it's gonna be very weird. But I want to bring Not Like Us into this with Kendrick Lamar because he actually touches upon what this book is talking about through his songs. Because he talks a lot about the Black experience within America with his performances. I mean, him bringing out a Black Uncle Sam at the Super Bowl is talking about what is allowed for Black people in America. Even to this day, how Black people are policed. Some workplaces don't want Black women and Black men to have certain hairdos. Well, Black hair can't do what white hair can do. So where do we go with that? I mean, in business, it's traditionally accepted that you clean cut, nice looking short hair. But in Black cultures, especially in African cultures, there's a lot of long hairstyles, braids, and that comes from Black culture. And well, Black hair is very the texture and the feel of it is very different from other people's hair. Um, and so, you know, just cut your hair short doesn't cut it for a lot of people because it feels like you're taking a part of their identity away so that they can try to be like you or fit in. So this goes in many ways because what happens is, you have this idea of the self, this is what we do and this is what they do. So it becomes the self. I identify as this. I'm part of this group, and everything that else that I don't identify with, that those are the others. That belongs to the others, and Toni Morrison goes into how this, the benefits of this, the people who take advantage of this, how it can be dark, and how can it create discrimination, segregation, for black people, for different groups, how immigration plays a role in this, and how this has shaped our society the way that it is today. Um, in terms of deeper meaning and analysis, Toni Morrison is not giving us an overwhelming conclusion of what we need to do to fix this problem. She's just pointing out where this comes from, how the others idea was used to bring on slavery. Because during the era of slavery, they're black, their hair is this way, they look like this, they're the others. We are this. Our hair is this way. Our color is this way. We are this. So the reality of creating these groups, you know, we identify as this, and those are the others. Um, so that type of idea, um, grouping people into categories so that we can keep control of them, so that we can manage them. Because Americans, I mean, that's what we do. And it's not just white people. I think all groups do this. White, black people group themselves or group other people into certain categories, and those who have power will use those groups to manage them. And the way that the management gets done, it's like, okay, this part of the city will be for low income people, and low income people are mostly going to be black, Hispanic groups. We're going to group them in this part of the city, and we're going to make this part of the city for rich people and people who have more access to opportunity. We're not going to mix it in like a big pot. No, no, no. We're not going to, like, it would make sense if cities were organized. Let's say you have um, certain buildings where they're expensive. Then down the street, you have a building that's not that expensive. So you have rich people living not too far away from middle class people, living not too far away from poor people. That way, the resources are somewhat fair in terms like, let's have some clean roads, let's have some clean streets, let's have public facilities be really nice. So yes, there are, you know, poor people, middle class people, and rich people live in the same place, but that would somehow help to keep the peace, because maybe the rich people could give jobs to the poor people, and the middle class people can move in, you know, you know, up and down. But that's, I mean, I'm not gonna go heavy into how this would be working, but I'm giving you guys the general idea. But the way that we have it in America is that a part of the city is for poor, a part of the city is for middle class, a part of the city is for rich. Well, there you go. Everybody knows what group they belong to, and this makes a massive divide because the poor can never move into the neighborhood of the rich. The middle class, is the middle class, and the poor can't move there either. And the poor is always the largest group. And at some point, if it gets too bad, the poor will revolt, and you have a repeat of what has always happened in history. But also in these divisions, in these groups, and these things, um, skin color, race, culture, history, it always plays a role. So the strongest example that Toni Morrison uses here is talking about skin color, the differences between African Americans and their masters back in the slavery era, and how the idea of others was used then. But there's other examples of it, like in today's culture, with, you know, there's cities that are built for rich white people, and not white people per se. It's just certain cities you just have to make some types of money where it's the people that have the best access to the best education, to the best schools, to the best connections. Those are the people that can live in those cities. And pathways for people who are coming from poor, black, or Hispanic, or different minority groups. It's really hard for them to go and buy a home or buy a house or go to school in those rich places. Um, but it's not just because the barrier nowadays it's not skin color. So we're not just going to turn this all about skin color and race. There's a lot of white people that can't live in those neighborhoods as well because a lot of it's like money. All right, so there's also this reality between the rich and the poor because I mean if multimillionaires are living in a multimillionaire zone, I don't care what color you are. If you don't have millions, you're not living there. Because let's keep it a buck 50. I'm sure most black people can't afford to live next to LeBron James. All right, yeah, you can't afford to live next to Oprah. I'm sure that the multi-million dollar billion black billionaires out there, I don't care if you're dark as midnight, you're not living next to them, even if they live in a rich neighborhood where there's white people. So there's definitely race. There's definitely the idea of others. There's definitely um, things to do with race and culture in America, and there is groups. I mean, inner cities and living in the suburbs. There's definitely groups of white people that live in nice places and groups of black people that live in nice places, and it's a mix and mingle type of thing. But it's not a black and white type of thing. It's definitely not, because believe me, there's a lot of black people in America that are ultra successful, ultra rich, that are doing way better than a lot of white people. And in the same way, there's Bill Gates. All right, there's lots of white people that are doing way better than most of all of us. So this is not a black white. I really hate that in our culture today. A lot of times people will just boil it down to black versus white. It's really not black versus white. That's done. All right, we've moved on past this. Are there differences? Is there discrimination? Is there pockets of it? Yes, but for the majority of us, it's that's not true. All right, there's a lot of rich, wealthy, multimillionaires, billionaires who are black in America. They're doing very well, and believe me, they're not worried about racism. They're doing extremely well. So that's not, Toni Morrison is not suggesting that at all. Um, but she is saying that there is grouping, there are borders, there are segments, and people do use skin color, culture, um, to separate themselves from groups of people, and that's not always a good thing because sometimes it can hurt people, it can hurt groups, it can keep people from getting certain opportunities. So don't boil the book down to just black versus white. Um, what she is doing here, she is pointing out differences in culture, differences in skin color, differences in behavior, differences in beliefs that can be detrimental to different groups of people. And there isn't a blanket, here's what we need to do to fix the problem. It's just that in order to adjust something or to make it better, you have to first point it out first and say, well, this is something that we can improve in our society. We're really not at a point of let's tear it down and build it back up. Now it's just there's certain things that we need to keep smoothing over to make the American society better for all. All right. That's all I have to say. Please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and or comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video.